about 2000, when I was working at Sargent as a creative director, working for a very large client who managed to exhibit the ability to be about as unethical as you get when they were attempting to sell cosmetics to African women. And I got this report that landed on my desk and it said, you know, our target is African women, they don't have a lot of money, we need to encourage them to use makeup, a bit like they used to use tribal makeup. And I just absolutely shocked that we were targeting poor people in the third world country and there were still so many rich people who could buy that kind of rubbish. And see a few people wearing it around the room. But actually I threatened that if that document ever came into my office again, I'd send it to the Guardian. And then the next board meeting I said to the board, I said, you know, I think we should fire this client. And they said, well, they are our biggest client, you know. I said, yes, but you know, a value isn't a value unless it costs you something. Well, they didn't agree with me, but we kind of, I think that brief vanished off. But it made me realise how large corporations sometimes completely lose the plot, which I'm going to talk about in 1 minute, actually. Good, this is working. Right, okay. First I'll ask the question is, a lot of mistake I see a lot of people making is just to say it's all about being green. And you see these briefs that say, we're targeting green consumers. And this is like saying we're just targeting women, or just targeting men, or people with left and right legs. It's just ridiculous because there's so many. I'm going to talk a bit later about the differences between certain groups. I mean, you know, you may not be a green, you might be a red. I mean, the red card is about caring for people. It's been very successful. And it's allowed Amex to actually reach an audience that it could never reach before. You might just be a hippie. I don't know if there's any hippies here tonight who came in there. There was a Volkswagen camper parked around the corner. Or maybe you're an undercover policeman. Do we have any undercover policemen in the audience? They're the ones with the blackberries. Okay, apparently. There's bleeping a little red light. Or maybe you're just like most people these days, where they don't necessarily see themselves as green or even fanatical or even slightly extreme. They just see themselves as ordinary people with ordinary values that say, hey, we've got to stop being so selfish, we've got to stop being so greedy, we just need to be a bit more caring. And I think that's one thing we're seeing is that it isn't necessary that the consumer has to be badged green or ethical. They actually just are getting back to the basics. So what I've seen in sort of probably the last 10 years being this area, we've seen enormous change, not just in the whole aspect of how advertising works. I mean, technology has been brilliant. I'm sure a lot of you tonight came because you picked something up off the web, whether it's LinkedIn or through Facebook. And that's obviously changed the way. And what that has done for a lot of us, it means the connectivity of people is tremendous. It means that no longer are we isolated. It means no longer are we just sort of, you know, we're only going to talk to people we bump into them in bars and in meetings. We now can talk to thousands of people around the globe and share our opinion. And what we're discovering, of course, is that more and more people are saying, yes, we agree that we need to be more ethical, we need to be less greedy, and we need to be more concerned about what we buy, where we get it from. So I'm going to start with a bit of news, talking about, yeah, this is this week's, just how dumb can some companies be. Now, you may remember a product called Sunny Delight. Wonderful product. I actually worked on it briefly, and a conversation I had with the guy at P&G was, you know, they were trying to brief us about how would we get this thing back in the shops. What basically happened in 1998, they launched it over here with a £10 million budget. It was hugely successful. It was turning up something like £180 million a year, and they were very happy until the consumer discovered it was a pile of shit. It basically was water, lots of carrot juice, well, carrot colouring, lots of sugar, and 5% fruit juice. Right? Now, you're going to see something very interesting in a minute. So what happened is the Food Association investigated it, and so did lots of these anti-sugar groups, and everyone discovered it was really bad. And they'd been marketing it at mothers and kids, and suddenly there was this enormous kind of, my God, we've been conned, you know. And P&G suddenly found themselves in deep shit. Their market halved overnight, they lost £80 million. Now that's a pretty costly lie, if you think about it. And we were working on it about 2001, and I said to the P&G client, and he said, you know, what do you think we should do? I said, simple, stop making it. You know, that's easy. Just stop making it, and introduce a real fruit juice with real things in it that do you good. They looked at me completely blank, they're like, am I on Mars or something? You know, it's like, I said, no, the consumer wants real stuff. They want purity, they want reality, they want natural, they want, you know, traditional. They don't want all this crap. Why would they? Why don't you just learn how to make a product decently and then learn how to make money from it? I think that was kind of, I just realised that they weren't listening. Turns out they're not the only ones not listening, because Coca-Cola, right, oh, this is just a funny bit, but apparently one of the girls drank so much Sunny D, she turned orange. So there's a lovely comment actually from the BBC. I'm sorry I have to turn around because I haven't got a monitor. But it said, a story of corporate power and consumer triumph, and of a manufacturing giant which has had to come to terms with a new world in which the consumer is increasingly wary and powerful. That was in 2003. So what possessed Coca-Cola to basically copy it? This is vitamin water. Now, this is from 2009. If any of you have been following the news, you know what's coming next. And they were criticised for deceiving the public about a product which is largely water, sugar, and a bit of shit. You know, and a few minerals chucked in. And the ASA condemned it, saying, look, you're deceiving people. Whatever you're doing, this isn't actually as nutritious as you claim. They banned all the advertising, and that was in 2009. This week, the ASA has actually said almost exactly the same thing to Coca-Cola, that again, you're deceiving people. And it just absolutely amazes me that large corporations just don't get it. That they just haven't worked out that you can't carry on selling crap to the public, because the public are getting more wary. And of course, no doubt, following this, Coca-Cola will see its sales start to slide, and people will move over to brands like V Water and stuff. So, you know, it's something as first lesson to large corporations is, they should listen. But what did Coca-Cola say when actually they were confronted with this? They said, we are disappointed with the ASA's decision to uphold 3 consumer complaints based on a difference in opinion on the use of the word nutritious. I think it's a classic example of hear no consumer, see no consumer, speak no consumer. So, I mean, I see this with a lot of large corporations. They haven't got the message. And one thing that's interesting when you're in the ethical field, the large ones don't want to talk to you because they're shit scared of what you might say to them. They'd rather go to the big agencies who will just sort of give them lots of greenwash. And what I think the real positioning now, the lesson to learn is not actually about what you say. It's not about you, all this hyped up branding that we used to do, you know, we used to convince the customer with this. It's actually about what people say to us now. It's about reputation. So we now know with the internet, it's actually what we say about everything else, which is what is important. Brands have got to realise that it's not what they say, it's what we say. We are now the empowered consumer. And this is something I think a lot of brands are really, really wrestling with. And it's not how much you make, which the city are even asking. Someone in the city said to me, investors now look at these companies and saying, it's not how much you make, it's how you make it. They're scared of being condemned for investing in unethical companies and unethical ventures. So there is a distinct change of attitude from people. And even those simple bits of guidelines should make large corporations think a bit twice. Triple bottom line. I'm assuming everyone's familiar with the term triple bottom line, people, planet, profit. It's really the balancing of a company that does well should consider all 3. Profit's important because obviously you need to pay salaries and it supports economies. But this is just some latest research actually, just sort of update on news, which is, you know, 50% of consumers prefer to buy from ethically minded companies. I think there's more. 70% prefer to buy from a company that gives back to society. And that's an interesting give back to society. It's not saying save the planet, it's give back to society. Social values are very important. They're people values. And over 81% of consumers prefer not to buy from ethical companies, so why the hell are people still buying Nestle?